Hey there guys, how's it going? I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to a video where I want to discuss Call of Duty Modern Warfare, my thoughts and opinions on this game, as quite a lot of you have asked me to make a video on it. As some of you might know, I started off as a Call of Duty YouTube channel, and I was such for quite a few years. In fact, I got to over 300,000 subscribers just doing Call of Duty. So although a lot of that crowd isn't here anymore, most of you are just here from the art gameplay. There's going to be a few people in the crowd who want to know my opinions on Call of Duty, maybe still into it, and I thought that this Call of Duty in particular is one that kind of strikes home with that old school vibe, so I give my opinions on it. I've played quite a lot of it right now. I'm about level 100. I think I've got nearly 2 days played, so I feel like I'm at a good place to give my opinions on the game. Now it's kind of settled down over the hype of the beginning bit a little bit. So I'm going to give my opinions on the really good things and the really bad things in this game, but if you want to cut a long story short, I do quite like this game. Overall, I feel like the positives outweigh the negatives here, and as you can tell by the fact that I've even been playing it, I like it way more than a lot of the more recent Call of Duties. Now, I don't think that means that I'll be making many YouTube videos on it. I want to do this one, just showing my opinions with you guys, because I am playing it a lot, but I don't see myself going back to a Call of Duty channel. But anyway, we'll have to see where that goes. So let's talk about what's good about Modern Warfare. First of all is the fact that it is Modern Warfare. This has the Call of Duty feel, the Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare 2 feel to it. They've gone back to that. I think it's an alternative universe, and I really like that. You know, it feels like a semi-realistic military shooter, which is a lot of fun. Not too many crazy loud camos and designs and ridiculous like robots and things jumping all over the place. So I do like that kind of semi-realistic military feel to it, kind of based in reality. Next up, the creator class is back to the more classic style creator class. I feel like it works really well. Primary, secondary, you know, tactical, lethal, and 3 perks. I don't get me wrong, I love the pick 10 from Black Ops 2, but I do like the way it's gone back to the classic creator class. I feel like it works very nicely, and the perks are relatively balanced. There's nothing too crazy in there. It's not like the most balanced perk system ever, but in all honesty, it's not that bad at all. Now, the gunsmith is where this game is really shining at the moment. I know a lot of people are fans of this system. So if you played this game, you'll know that each individual gun you can extremely highly customize, to the point where you can almost make completely different guns out of existing guns. For example, you can make like an AK-74U out of a regular AK. You can make different styles of MP5. As you can see in this gameplay here, I'm absolutely loving the MP5. It's an absolute beast. And I guess this kind of goes into the fact that I'm quite impressed with the guns, really. There aren't too many good assault rifles. I feel like only 2 or 3 of them are worth using, but I feel like the SMGs are all really good. The snipers, not much variety in there. I haven't messed about much with the LMGs, though a lot of people like them, but the SMGs are very good, which is quite difficult to do in a lot of Call of Duties. They're almost always underpowered, and then there's one god tier one, but I've been quite impressed with them here. Obviously, when it comes to assault rifles, I'm loving the AK. I'm loving the M4, though the AK is very difficult to use, and also the M13. I will have a bit more of an experiment with all of them, but there's so many camos to unlock and achievements to get for each weapon that I feel like I'm spending a lot of time on these guns that I like right now, like the M4, the P90, the MP5, and then once I've unlocked all of that stuff, I'll go on to the next ones, which again goes into another thing that I like about this game, and that's the fact that there are so many camos to get. There are so many camos. They're also not too like loud and obnoxious. They're semi-realistic. I don't really like the bright coloured ones, like the pink ones and maybe the bright red ones. I like the idea of this being slightly more realistic looking, but they're not too bad. It's nothing too crazy, like say the Black Ops 2, we had the you know, luminous camos and all that kind of stuff. Maybe eventually, but I like the idea that when we all load into a map, everyone looks like they've got a kind of gun that might actually, you know, a real soldier might actually use. You know, not too many real soldiers are going to go around with super brightly coloured guns. Another good point is the cross-platform support. As we've seen, it seems to have worked really, really well. There's not super too much complaints about the disadvantage of mouse and keyboard versus controller. I think this has proved that a lot of good controller players can compete with most mouse and keyboard players. Obviously, at the super top end of mouse and keyboard, it might be a little bit different, but for the most part, I don't see too many people complaining. If you really don't like playing against mouse and keyboard players, you can just opt out of that if you're on console, and it's been really fun playing with people on all platforms, you know, across all systems. That is a really cool feature. Also, I've actually just recently tried playing PS4 with the mouse and keyboard, and the support works really, really well. Very impressed with how they've handled that. Something that has been overlooked in all the old Call of Duty, so I've got to give them props for that. There's also a lot of little things in this game that I quite like, that I think people overlook really and don't give props to. Like the ability to edit the class mid-game is something that we've wanted for so long, and I've actually done it in this. It works perfectly well. So yeah, the ability to just change out attachments, change out your whole class in the middle of a game is a really, really nice feature. Also really like Gunfight. That's a really fun game mode. 2v2 really gives you good, like what's the word, like satisfaction when you actually get that win. You really feel like you've had a big effect on the game because it's only 2v2. So yeah, quite like Gunfight. Relatively quick fixes to problems as well, which is pretty good. Obviously when the game came out, a few massive problems, like all of the people shouting too much, like all the call outs was too much. Even some of the maps, like they've slightly changed them. They seem to be pretty good with the balances and fixes. Obviously not perfect, but not too bad at all. Now also there's no loot crates before we get into the bad things. So the one final, I guess, good point about this game is that we've seen no loot crates whatsoever. I would be extremely surprised if we don't see them after Christmas. However, can't complain as of right now. There's been no loot crates. You can't buy any loot crates, and it's all unlocks and stuff, which has been extremely satisfying to do and a lot of fun. Feels like a proper game instead of just a loot box machine. So let's get into what I don't like about the game, and to be fair, some of these things, if not most of them, have actually been patched or fixed. We've got the map design, which I guess is the real killer, and this is the thing that I was complaining about the most when the game first came out. Now, I'm still not a huge fan of the maps. However, having put like quite a lot of playtime into them, you can adjust eventually. Like eventually, when you figure out how the maps flow a little bit better, they aren't so bad, but they definitely aren't up there with the classic Call of Duty maps. I'm a big fan of the 3-lane design. Piccadilly obviously is notorious for just being a horrendous map. There's way too many areas to look out for as you're running across the map, so it does make the game feel a lot more tactical, and most people don't really like that. I mean, I don't really enjoy it too much. In some ways I can understand why it being tactical is fun, but let's be honest, Call of Duty is an arcade style shooter, so people just want to run and gun like a madman, and they want like corridors and things and lanes to be able to do that, rather than like big open spaces where you have to slowly move across the map. So that's not ideal, although I have to say over time I have kind of started to like the maps a little bit more now I've got used to how to use them. Claymores were a huge problem at the start. Obviously you can have restock and shrapnel, which just gives you constant claymores. That mixed with the fact that people were really scared to move around these maps made the beginning of the game very difficult. People weren't moving, having unlimited claymores, and claymores were super strong. Now they have nerfed the claymores, which I have to say I've seen a lot less claymores now, so that is a good thing. But yeah, it's still a bit of a thing. The fact that you can have like a constant restock of claymores is not ideal, but at least they balanced it a little bit by making the claymores not as powerful. Also, the fact that kill streaks don't roll over is a real shame. You know, you get your kill streaks, and then once you've got them all, you might as well just die again so you can get more. That seems a bit silly. Surely they should roll over, or they should have some kind of system where you can earn your streaks again, even if it's more difficult to get them the second time or something like that. Just the idea of getting your streaks and then just, you know, taking a death just so you can get more streaks just doesn't seem very intuitive. I don't really like the fact that there's a new lobby every game. It seems weird. I heard an interview where they said that there was some kind of bug or error if they didn't do this, but this seems really silly. Why do you have to have a new lobby every single time? It just takes longer to search for games. Add on to the fact there that there's no map voting, which is a real shame. I actually saw an interview that said that there's no map voting because when people didn't get the map they wanted, they left the game, which to me seems absurd, because if you don't get the map you want, you just leave the game anyway, regardless. Like if a map comes up, you really don't like it, you just leave the lobby. I don't see how that changes at all. If there's a voting system, just gives people more options to play the maps that they like more often. Now finally, we've got the whole score-based matchmaking, skill-based matchmaking thing. Now although these clips make me look like quite a decent little Call of Duty player, I'm not so great right now. I am playing almost exclusively on PC, where obviously the competition is pretty good. Most people on PC know what they're doing, and I'm a pretty solid 1.0 KD player. So I haven't had too many problems with skill-based matchmaking. Obviously I do get the occasional super sweat lobby, and I find it is just as frustrating as the rest of you. but I'm kind of over the fact that I'm not a superstar Call of Duty player anymore, so I kind of just am okay with it, and we'll see how it goes. You know, we'll see how it goes. Skill-based matchmaking, I mean, it almost definitely is in the game. It would be frustrating if it wasn't. I don't like it, but hey, at least it gives us noobs a chance. I call myself a noob. I mean, it's strange that I'm like a 10-year Call of Duty veteran. I call myself a noob at these games, but I've never been super amazing. But as you can see from the gameplay, I do still manage to pull off some cool things. So hey, that's it for the video. I just wanted to give you guys my opinion, let you know I've been enjoying the game, what I do like, what I don't like. Maybe there'll be some more Modern Warfare content from me. Just see how this video does. If it gets a lot of good feedback and a few views, then sure, I've got no problem sprinkling in some more Modern Warfare stuff. Other than that, we'll be back to the regular ARC content. Obviously, I've got loads of that to come as well. But thanks for checking out the video, guys. Links in the description to my technology channel. If you're not subscribed over there, make sure you do. It's a brand new channel. It's going to have loads of creator tech tips and just general gaming stuff like that, and I'm sure you'll enjoy. But that's it for now, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.